Rapid fire panel discussion? What the heck is that? Huh, sounds a lot more interesting than a boring panel discussion. My name is Kristin Arnold, and I am a master facilitator and a leading expert on moderating panels. And we are going to talk about a rapid fire panel discussion. The rapid fire panel discussion is an idea that I stumbled upon a couple of years ago from the Colorado Real Estate Investors Conference. Who knew? And they had a panel discussion titled 90 Questions Answered in 90 Minutes. That's like 1 minute a question. I didn't even know lawyers could answer questions in 1 minute. So I was intrigued in this panel discussion type of format. So in this video, I'm going to cover my version of how to do a rapid fire panel discussion. So let's dive right in. If you Google rapid fire panel discussion, you'll find a few different formats. This is the format that I know works because I've tried it, I've refined the process, and it all starts with you, the panel moderator, doing an overview, welcome, creating, sharing the process, the agenda, and the ground rules for this very rapid fire, quick format. You then give the panelists an opportunity to share 30 seconds of, I call it the rant, but you introduce the panelists with a sentence or two. Their name, their company name, etc. is on a PowerPoint slide. And then you give them 30 seconds to rant about the topic. Then you go into audience Q&A. Now, this is the rapid part, and you have to give the ground rules for the audience Q&A. That when you rise to the microphone, whether it's a microphone runner or whether they're coming up to the microphone, is that it is state your name and one sentence as a question. No explanation, it's just the question. So it's rapid fire. You as the moderator, you start timing at the moment the panelist, at the moment the person who's asking the question starts asking the question. They have 1 minute. So that question is part of the 1 minute. So the question, and you have a timer, and you have 1 minute, and it goes to a panelist. So the panelists have to be jockeying for who's going to answer, or the questioner directs it to a specific panelist. Now, you as the panel moderator, or you can have somebody in the audience, a helper, to be your timekeeper. Now, this is the fun part, is you could have a bell, you could have a whistle, you could have your phone go off, you could have a buzzer. I was actually in an auditorium that had a buzzer. So however you want to signify that is the end of the answer to that question. So you keep doing this for as long as the panel, up to 5 minutes before the end. 5 minutes before the end, well, actually, you take 2 more questions. Let people know that you're taking 2 more questions. Do 2 more questions, and now you are probably at 5 minutes before the end. This is the perfect time for you to then have the panelists summarize what they've heard, the questions. Is there something that they wanted to ask that they didn't? You give them a final question to then wrap up the end of that panel discussion. So I'm curious, have you ever seen this kind of format? I mean, it's pretty innovative, it's pretty fast-paced, it's pretty challenging actually to keep everybody in line. And I'll be going over some tips in just a second. But before we go there, I'm just wondering, had you seen this kind of format, and did it work? Did it not? What'd you see? Just put some comments in the notes area. And while you're there, if you could hit that like button and maybe even subscribe to this channel, that'd be awesome. Okay, so here's some tips. First and foremost, you really have to explain the process and make sure that people understand it. So repeat it, tell them the process, and then repeat it, summarize it. Tip number 2 is that when somebody does not stick to the 1-sentence question, you have to intervene quickly because that timer is going down. And you might you really have to do this on the first person, usually, because they're not getting it yet. But if you go to the first person, okay, start with the question first. I'm going to restart the timer just so that everybody knows that you only have a minute for both the question and the answer. It's also helpful if they can see the timer. Not as important, but they've got to be, it's nice if they can see the timer, but most importantly, they need to hear the buzzer or the shot clock or the chime or the however you want to make sure that they know everybody's done talking. Next question. Finally, you really do have to coach your panelists that they're only going to have probably about 45 seconds to answer a question. So they have to be very precise about stating the answer. If they have a story, an anecdote, that they are going to be cut off after 45 seconds-ish, after an entire minute, and that, just tell them that's the process and don't be upset about it. And it requires a little bit of coaching. Like most things, if you're interested in finding out more about how to moderate a panel, I invite you to watch our 7-part video series at www.howtomoderateapanel.com. Thanks for watching.